So I welcome all our distinguished guests today. I am Asad Bhatti. I am a part of InfraZamin team. And on behalf of InfraZamin Pakistan, I welcome you all as we are gathered here today to launch Pakistan's first fully subscribed PKR 2 billion Agri-Infrastructure Sukuk, launched by Sunridge Foods Private Limited, a subsidiary of Unity Foods Limited. I now request the team to please play the tilawat of Quran Majid. Thank you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر.
I would request all the guests to please rise for the national anthem. Thank you. Thank you. Backed by InfraZamin Pakistan, this is a Sharia-compliant Sukuk backed by 100% principal credit guarantee. Carries a long-term AAA rating and fully subscribed by the institutional investors. This represents a pioneering step towards sustainable financing via capital markets in the country's agricultural sector. The Sukuk issuance, led by Bank Islami Pakistan as the mandated lead arranger and credit enhanced by InfraZamin, has been assigned a AAA rating by VIS Credit Rating Company. The involvement of AKD Securities as financial advisor, Al Hilal Sharia Advisors as Sharia compliance experts, and Pak Brunei Investment Company Limited as investment agent. And trustees ensures robust governance and protection of the interests of Sukuk holders under a Sharia-compliant framework. I will now request Chairperson Dr. Shamshad Akhtar, Chairperson Pakistan Stock Exchange, to please come on stage and share her views on this Agri-Infrastructure Sukuk.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and welcome to all distinguished delegates. In particular, I'd like to welcome you, our new Pakistan Business Council leader, old hands of Pakistan Stock Exchange, and a very dear colleague and friend. Very warm welcome to you to your home. Of course, Maheen, you forgot me, but you finally found me here. Maheen is a dear friend. InfraZamin was set up under Karandaz, that I was at that time a board member of, and we had expectations, but Maheen has exceeded expectations in all contexts and respects. I've been to her office, I've seen the transactions, and Maheen, thank you for providing this credit enhancement and guarantees, because without it, our infrastructure would be behind the scale that it is today. It has yet to reach newer heights. Last but not the least, our distinguished Managing Director, CEO, Farrukh Sabzwari, who is also making immense efforts to lift the game of Pakistan Stock Exchange. Of course, he has to bear with us often. So with this, welcome to other distinguished guests who are here. Of course, my colleagues from JS Bank, from, Bank Islami, and all others. Our colleague here who is always reporting to us diligently, thank you for that. So, stock exchange is a place where you can do a lot of business if you wish to, and we are here to educate people, and a lot of effort is being made now to have newer partnerships with the academic institution where the youth is. And I know that Farrukh is launching these efforts. I have made some endeavors with certain companies. So this is the launch of Sunridge Agriculture Infrastructure Sukuk. Two important words. Sukuk. Sukuk is something that I feel very passionate about. And Jawad, who's sitting here, will testify that I fought against a lot of people to make the required amendments legally to be able to have sukuks at Pakistan Stock Exchange, because I wanted Islamic finance to be promoted on this platform. And I am so proud of this achievement, and we are all making this effort. Second important element in this is agri-infrastructure. No matter what you look at, agriculture production and agriculture infrastructure is very much behind the curve. There's a lot of scope to enhance, and that can happen with the required enhancements. So Sunridge Foods needs to be congratulated. Sunridge Foods and Unity Foods I have had some association with in the past, have taken a transformative step in launching Pakistan's first agriculture infrastructure sukuk. In this context, it is a groundbreaking idea that can set an example for innovating Islamic financing to meet various businesses and, of course, ethical needs which goes with Islamic finance. This initiative has potential to improve operational efficiency and demonstrate your strong commitment to reaching net zero emissions by 2050 and ensuring food security. Both are extremely close to my heart. I have spent a lot of time in the past year or so writing on climate finance. There is a whole report on Pakistan's climate finance, which has been launched on different platforms in Islamabad at a PM ceremony and also with Finance Minister. And I think it's one of the most comprehensive book that has been pulled together, not because I did it, but because we were fortunate that the United Nations encouraged me to take the leadership on it. Second recent piece that I presented in Japan, and I'm just coming back from Japan a few weeks back, where we have presented Asia-Pacific Climate dynamics, and finance, and talked about the debt distress and its resolution, which are critically linked with giving an impetus to climate funding. Without that, you will not have climate funding. This is an outcome of a group that I co-chair along with 3 other members who have been discussing the analytical foundations of how to go about it. The book will be published by the ADBI, where I went to represent and offer as a guest speaker my thoughts. It will be available soon, and we will make it available to whoever is interested in. There's a lot to come further on climate, because, as you know, all of Asia Pacific faces this threat. And unless we stop now in our emissions, we will not be able to arrest the drift in the climate. I would also like to acknowledge InfraZamin more strongly for its pivotal role in advancing Pakistan's economic and environmental sustainability. Through strategic partnerships and innovative financing solutions, including agriculture infrastructure projects, renewable energy initiatives, and the issuance of gender bond, which you did, InfraZamin is driving what I would call inclusive growth. Together, Sunridge Foods and InfraZamin are setting a powerful and an instrumental example, showing how collaboration, innovation, and faith-aligned finance can unlock real, sustainable impact for millions of farmers, businesses, and consumers across Pakistan. Like everything else, there are challenges, but also, fortunately, opportunities for us. So before I talk about solutions, we must first understand the scale of challenge. Pakistan stands at a critical crossroads, confronted by the dual threats of climate change and food insecurity. These are no longer distant or abstract concerns. They are immediate realities, disrupting livelihoods, supply chains, and economic stability. Recent monsoon rains have already begun to impact daily life and business operations, particularly in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Punjab. Both are inundated more heavily than what we see the level of inundation in Karachi, but if you go in the interior, it's quite bad. It's just that the government is not equipped to get there. I must pay my tribute to the Chief Minister of Punjab, Maryam Nawaz, who I have not met ever, but I have seen her pictures, her videos of walking through the dirty water and looking at the situation firsthand. I must say, that is what is needed to have a soul to get out there, to make people understand that you are with them in every crisis. I can tell you, I have firsthand witnessed the impact of it when I went to Indonesia, when there was a typhoon that sucked up almost 50 kilometers of houses, people, and every day the count went up of the people who were sucked up by that typhoon. Similarly, I went to Japan, when they faced their own crisis of this dimension. These are days when I used to work for the Asian Development Bank. And I must say, there was a lot of learning by physically witnessing. And I can tell you, poor women were trying to grab you and say, do something, bring my husband back, bring my children back. Regrettably, they were all gone. The 2022 floods, of course, have dealt a devastating blow to Pakistan's agriculture, food system, livestock, and fisheries, causing direct losses of over 3.7 billion. In total, damages exceeded 15 billion, with 16.3 billion required for rehabilitation. More than 33 million were affected, and over 1,700 lives were tragically lost, according to the count. But as you know, in these crises, it's hard to count the real number. According to the Climate Risk Index 2025, Pakistan ranked first globally among countries most impacted by extreme weather events in 2022 and remains among the top 10 climate vulnerable nations over the long term. Pakistan, however, contributes just 0.32% of greenhouse gas emissions. These GH emissions, who is responsible for? 10 topmost countries: Korea, Indonesia, and so on and so forth. And I have to tell you that although now the level of effort is improving, but I must confess it's not commensurate with the level of emissions. And hence one needs to recognize that countries which are below sea level, such as Pakistan, will have to face these climate challenges. To adapt and build resilience, as I mentioned, UNDP estimates that Pakistan will require $348 billion by 2030. This is a figure that I had in my report, but the original estimators of this were the World Bank. And World Bank and few other participants, particularly the donors, not only have they doubled or tripled their climate commitments, but also had resolved to try to improve the estimates, because getting the right estimates of the requirements is still a big challenge. And I have to say, there's another big challenge that as you know, most of this money comes by way of grant assistance. So anybody who wants an assistant just grabs it in the private sector, irrespective of the extent of their involvement in the climate intervention. So the period that I was the interim finance minister, I made sure that I said all the climate finance ought to be routed through Ministry of Finance that will screen the level of the requirements. Now, obviously, I don't know how rigorously it's being adopted. Also, it was at a time when I was negotiating under very difficult circumstances the IMF's program. We were on the verge of default. And IMF, of course, asked me for not only the simulations on the climate frontier, but they also wanted the simulation on debt distress, which was a difficult job, but I must say that we delivered. And that methodological approach is available to Ministry of Finance to update as and when required. It was discussed on the platform of SIFC, the Special Investment Facilitation Mechanism set up to get the government and the armed forces to work together to get things right. Yet, the sad part is climate budgets remain consistently underfunded. This is where green sukuks can play a transformative role, unlocking capital and prevention-focused financing and shifting away from reactive disasters. Encouragingly, investor appetite is growing. In 2024 alone, over 1 trillion in sustainable bonds were issued globally, with 57.7% in green finance. I must confess that the largest contributor or issuer of sustainable bonds is China, which has a huge appetite for sustainability. I think Pakistan, after a lot of discussion, legal amendments, took the right decision, and Ministry of Finance has ended up relying on PSX channel. Now, Farooq has a challenge to continue waking them up. And of course, we launched the first Green Sukuk in 2024 while I was still in the office. At that time, Farooq Iqbal was on the scene, and SECP chairman, who is still the chairman, they were there, and they wanted a week, and I said, you do it tonight. So fortunately, we had a good team, and we launched it the same evening. The challenge, of course, goes deeper on agriculture side. We must also confront structural barriers that I've talked about in our financial and agriculture system. As you know, 60% of our adults cite limited financial literacy and documentation hurdles as reasons they cannot access formal loans. This disproportionately affects small farmers and rural entrepreneurs. 40% of those earning from agriculture reported losing parts of their crops to floods and pests, but only 5% had insurance. This is despite the fact that I launched a major insurance report under Razak Dawood, the Commerce Minister then, and then SECP has updated it. A staggering 70% do not know crop insurance existed. This isn't just a service gap. It's an inclusion gap, one that weakens our rural economy and threatens food security. Globally, 2/3 of world's extreme poor rely on agriculture. The World Bank's 2024 report on poverty, prosperity, and planet reminds us of that these challenges transcend barriers, they affect our shared future. I apologize if I have repeated something, but I wasn't wearing my glasses. So that's one of the reasons, perhaps, of this. So, colleagues, Islamic finance, rooted in principle of justice, shared risks, and community upliftment, offers pathways for ethical responses to today's crisis. I owe my deep affection for Islamic finance, not only because of my religious and value proposition, but also because I was on the board of Islamic finance, and that's where we resolved to make sure everybody gets the know-how. And a lot of money was spent in capacity building. It, of course, asks us to be bold, innovative, not only in products, but in purpose. We now see strong momentum in place. Global Islamic banking comprises 70% of industry assets, growing 12% year on year in 2024. Sukuk remains the second largest segment, reaching $970 billion in outstanding value. ESG Sukuk issuance surged to $15.2 billion, growing 14% year on year, with 69% of ESG Sukuk classified as sustainability linked or social based. We are seeing instruments used for food security support, as in Egypt's $700 million deal with Islamic Trade Finance Corporation, and for regional capital market integration, as seen in Kazakhstan's partnership with Nasdaq and Shanghai Stock Exchange. Shanghai, for that matter, Chinese, hold a substantive partnership on this exchange. And it's impressive to see what they are doing, because I think Farooq, you, me, and Chairman SECP went together to examine and learn from them. Agriculture infrastructure Sukuk can be an anchor within this global wave, enabling climate-resilient agriculture, building rural storage and cold chain systems, and expanding access to clean water and sustainable irrigation while honoring faith-based investing principles. To conclude, I'm thankful to so many people who have held the commitment that I have and are taking the matters forward. Most of all, I speak from the platform of PSX. We are deeply committed to transforming capital markets into engines of broad-based and inclusive prosperity. We believe markets should do more than just trade securities. And there will be a lot of hand-holding. They must mobilize capital where it is needed most, whether for infrastructure, SME growth, technological innovation, or most importantly, in this case, agriculture development. It not only adds depth to our Islamic capital market. After all, Pakistan is moving towards universal 100% Islamic finance very soon. But it also strengthens the bridge between faith-aligned finance and purpose-driven impact. I thank you once again. I wish you great deliberations in the next half an hour or so. And I have to thank Amir, who is the Chief of Staff of Farooq, but also my Chief of Staff, because I asked him to pull from a variety of documents that I use, but also our Sukuk first piece that we put together. And I have to thank so many people from whom there has been learning, but also dissemination, which is important to take this message across. Thank you for being here, from your busy schedules, and particularly those from the banks. There's a lot of learning for all of us. I think under the leadership of our new leader of Pakistan Business Council, I think we are going to exploit his platform. I have already told him that he owes us for being affiliated with Pakistan Stock Exchange. You will not believe, when I was in Islamabad, he used to manage my affairs here. He used to come to Islamabad and report if everybody was behaving right here. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I would now request Ms. Maheen Rahman, CEO, InfraZamin Pakistan, to come on stage.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Dr. Shamshad, I have not forgotten you. You're not someone anyone can forget. Thank you for being here and for hosting us. Farooq Sabzwari, thank you very much. Lance Dom, British Deputy High Commission, welcome again to Pakistan and for being here. And to all our friends and partners, thank you so much for being here today. This really is a landmark transaction, and we're very grateful to celebrate it with all of you. So InfraZamin's role fundamentally is to capitalize private sector involvement in debt capital markets and in debt financing. And if you're familiar with the way Pakistan's debt capital markets work, they're predominantly dominated by the government sector, followed by the banking sector, and then a small percentage gets left over for the corporate market, and that too on blue chip securities with the very highest credit rating. So where's the problem in that? The problem really is that other institutions, other corporates that need to access this market most often don't get the reception that they need. And that becomes a challenge for greater Sukuk issuance, greater TFC issuance, and really building that volume in the debt capital markets. So InfraZamin, through our credit guarantee framework and our capacity building program, try to close those gaps of market perception, but as well as credit perception. And we do that with the guarantee product. So this is our second issue for Pakistan, and it's a really interesting one. Just to give you an idea on how issuances develop and how they improve the aspect for corporates to raise money in the future, I'd take you back to the �K𝐻 bond, which was issued in 2023 against a $10 million guarantee by InfraZamin. So that was the first time gender finance received an actual instrument to look at gender inclusive financing, specifically for women. Following our investment in �K𝐻, BII conducted another $7 million raise for �K𝐻, and most recently PMIC, which is the Pakistan Microfinance Institution, conducted another gender-inclusive financing scheme just in 2025. So not only did we issue the first bond, but we also opened the door and the mechanism to how gender finance could be done in a mainstream and commercial way. Similarly, we have the same hope for the Sunridge Infrastructure Sukuk, which is focused on agriculture. And we have to thank our partners here, Unity Foods and Sunridge Foods, and Amir especially and his team, for sharing the vision that we had to work in the agricultural space. Agriculture historically has been very much a short-term focus area, both for the banking sector, and very rare do we see a sukuk of this nature come to the capital market. But we're very happy that we were able to structure this deal in such a way that not only do we have agricultural infrastructure in the form of warehousing, silos, green energy, solar and wind, both within this project, but also significant improvements to processing and energy efficiency, all of which will go towards Sunridge's ability to enhance food security and and the overall production of processed food items. So with us, in terms of looking at agriculture, there was a tremendous lack of bankable projects. So we're very grateful that we could do this with Sunridge, and in the future, we hope to see them come back to the market in the future with additional Sukuk raises, which not only should be in the privately placed sphere, but also in the listed mechanism. That would be the next target for us. So in terms of where all the money will go, I will let Amir talk about that. But I think for us, the key wins really were around the tenor and the pricing. So if you look at a lot of the bonds, the focus is really short-term on much of the market. Here, we were able to raise 7-year financing at a spread of just 0.75, which you would, I'm sure you would all agree, is very fine pricing, given the risk that we take on in commodities and in agricultural finance. I would just like to thank UFL and SFL, as well as our investors and partners, the JS Banking Group, Bank Islami, VIS, Haider Mota, Al Hilal, AKD Securities, for helping make this transaction happen. We at InfraZamin plan to do much more in the Sukuk and climate finance space. As part of our market development and capacity building, we have already spent over 100 million rupees in grant financing towards educating the market on green financing structures. We are already in the middle of a climate crisis as Pakistan, and we need much more investment in the adaptive climate space to ensure our own sustainable future. InfraZamin stands ready to deliver where needed on such projects, but we also request our friends and partners at the MOF, the SECP, the PSX, to look at incentive structures for bringing green debt financing to the market, because it is not enough to simply get an applause for doing green, but there must be a commercial sense in doing that as well. Finally, on the behalf of the board, management, and team at InfraZamin, I thank you all for the trust you've placed in us, and it is our hope that partnerships such as this, we want to build with you and help drive the change that we need to see in our capital markets. Thank you.
Thank you, Maheen. I would now like to request Executive Director, Sunridge Foods, Mr. Amir Shehzad, to please come on stage. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. First of all, thank you so much, Dr. Shamshad, for offering such encouraging words for Unity Foods and Sunridge. How do I start? I think I want to first of all thank Maheen. I think we were in a conference on one of the panels. We were participants there. Post that, this was about, I think, over 2.5 years ago. And we were sitting there post that meeting, and we were discussing the issues or the challenges we were facing as a new company, because Sunridge was relatively new, working in, focusing in a very basic commodity like flour, which is a highly fragmented industry in Pakistan. So there was a serious challenge going to the banks, raising capital for working capital and for expansion. So I think this discussion concluded in Maheen supporting us in offering a 100% guarantee for the Sukuk, and she encouraged us. So that's why we are here today. So thank you, Maheen, for that. I think I just want to give you a little bit of background on Sunridge. Sunridge, as a company, started off, I think, established in 2013, brought its first product to the market in 2015. As Unity Foods, we've been focused basically into processing and sale of edible oil and animal feed. But that was not really the line we wanted to be in. We wanted to be in the FMCG. So flour was one of the basic field that we wanted to be in. And also, if you really look at we have two major sponsors, Mr. Farooq and his family, and we have Wilmar that owns about 42% of the company of Unity Foods now. So flour is very close to the heart of the chairman of Wilmar as well. I think they're one of the largest processors of flour in the world today. So we wanted to get into flour, and we found Sunridge to be the right candidate for us to see how we can, to get into this market. So we started looking at Sunridge at 2018. We closed the acquisition 2020. When we closed the acquisition, the company was at about 130 tons per day of processing capacity. And the top line was about 1.3 billion rupees in sales. So in the next 5 years, today, the last year we closed our capacity at about 940 tons per day. So in the last 5 years, we went up from 130 to about 940 tons. And also, as far as our sales are concerned, from 1.3 billion, last year we closed our top line at about 18 billion. But if you really look at it, just want to give you an idea of the market. At 940 tons per day processing capacity, if we run our plant 365 days at 100% capacity, we will still be covering maybe less than 2% of the market demand. So if you just look at that market, I think it's just the first step that we've taken, whether it's financing, whether it's production, whether it's introducing our products. Just to give you an idea, when we bought the company, we were just selling one single product, wheat flour, single flour product. Today, we have 200 plus SKUs that we're selling in the market. It's not, we are selling 5 or 6 different variants of flour. And also, we are now looking at the international export market for our products. We're into confectionery because once you have the basics in place, you go into the value-added market. That's the basic idea. So this year we're starting that. So we're expecting our sales to grow exponentially in the next 2-3 years. So I think this was the first step in terms of the Sukuk that we did. That's a little brief on Sunridge. But just to give you an idea, I want to talk about the industry also. It has to be understood. The agriculture, Dr. Shamshad very importantly mentioned the criticality of this industry for our overall economy, its contribution to a GDP. We are a population of maybe 250 million people. I would say 250 million hungry people. And we need to make sure that we feed them with the product that we produce ourselves. It's very important. We need to be self-sufficient in terms of the agriculture space. If you look at historically, Pakistan has been an agri-economy. And we should not forget that. We should not let that rope get out of our hands. We need to focus ourselves. I understand that there are different other industries, IT, maybe manufacturing, other industries that we need to look at, of course. But our mainstay has been agriculture and should be agriculture. Just to give you an idea, I think, if I'm not mistaken, our yield for rice production in Pakistan is roughly maybe 2.9 or 2.8 to 2.9 million tons per hectare. We're in the same latitude and longitude latitude with respect to where Egypt is. If you look at Egypt's rice production, it's a desert. They do roughly north of 6 million tons per hectare. They have Nile River, we have Indus River. So I mean, the basics are there. We need to make sure that the focus is right there. And also, I think one of the things that I would request the government to really look at it. I think it has to be a partnership between the government and the private sector and the public sector. Public sector or private sector independently cannot do anything. I think what the government needs to do is look at how some of the products have fared in the last maybe 6-7 years. Once there was maybe no, in the products there was no price control or government intervention. So just to give you an example, Pakistan produces corn and maize. In 2018-19, our yield was roughly about 3.9 million tons total produced 3.9 million tons of corn. Year before, that hit about 10.8 million tons. Today, we're about 8.9. If you just look at wheat, in wheat, we've always ranged, it's always remained volatile. We've ranged between 25 million tons to about 30 million tons. We hit 30, we go down to 28. Last year was 30. This year was 28 million tons. You know, we don't get that stability. It's because if you really look at it, there's no price control with respect to corn and maize. There's no restriction in terms of export of that product. I think the price or the market forces are strong enough to determine the demand for that product and also to encourage the farmer and encourage players like ourselves and the government also and financial institutions as well. I think it's a challenge for financial institutions also because I don't see any, corporate farming level engagement in Pakistan. And most of the financing that's available with the banks today is focused on the farmer, right? They buy the seed, they buy the fertilizer, whatever they do, and then, that's how they go. But there is no real focus in terms of pushing or encouraging corporate farming, which we require. Because that will bring in mechanization, that'll bring in better quality seeds, that'll bring in all of those things required just to increase our per acre yield. I think we have a potential of doubling our per acre yield for wheat. And if we allow the open market to determine the demand, determine the price, I think, and opening up the market for export also. Let me mention it normally. Today, government doesn't allow you to export flour, but they allow you to export flatbread like parathas and confectionery, which is 80% or 60% flour. So we're already exporting flour in a finished good manner, but we can't export flour So I think that needs to be looked at. I think as far when we talk about infrastructure, I think what institutions like InfraZamin and people like Maheen can really do is, if we really look at, we look at stats, we look at those numbers, we have about 3 million tons of reserves of wheat in Pakistan. But if you go and look at how that strategic reserves are being, housed, I think 70% is unusable because the wheat is green, or there's too much moisture. You cannot really there's a lot of aflatoxin in that wheat, so it cannot be used. So if the government can come up with a policy along with the private sector that they can allow it to have that wheat turned over, maybe processed into flour, exported, and then they can continue, bringing in more flour, more wheat, so that the capacity that they have, it's usable. Otherwise, stats or numbers, I can put in a lot of numbers there, and it really doesn't help the country. So I think that is something the government has to focus on. For that, we are there. We want to participate. We want to encourage other players like ourselves. We want to encourage the banks to really step up, discuss with us how we can look at to finance and maybe mechanize the whole farming process, because I think that's what's required for us. So I just don't want to make too long a speech, but just wanted to highlight a few of the issues and the potential that the market has. So in the end, I just want to thank all the participants, especially Bank Islami, for having that confidence in us. I want to thank JS Investments, HBL Asset Management, Al-Falah, and the other partners that we have, Park Brunei, Al Hilal, we had VIS. Thank you, Sarah, and your team for contributing, and of course, Maheen, for kind of nudging us into this direction. No, InfraZamin comes after Maheen, I think, because you lead InfraZamin. Let me be very honest. So thanks to you, we got nudged in this direction. And I think this is one of the first instrument that we've come up with. I think we'll talk how things go forward, what our plans are, and how we can go forward and see what we can do together. So thank you.
I will now request President and CEO of Bank Islami, Mr. Rizwan Attar, to please come on stage.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad. Lot has been said, and I start saying thank you to our chairperson and also our board member, Madam Shamshad, who is guiding us, not running the businesses, but also the bank's business. And obviously the Maheen, I would have not made it today. My driver was gone, and I got a lift from her, and then my friend Amr Shamim, and obviously the Sunridge Unity Food and Farexam, obviously. It's a great step. I think this is we're honored to have it. This is the first Sharia compliant Sukuk for infrastructure, agri-finance, and Unity Food and Sunridge is not, we are a partnership for this. We have participated half of the Sukuk, which is ₹1 billion out of ₹2 billion. But Unity Food and Sunridge is otherwise our customer, and that group is doing a lot for staple food and value added and very famous FMCG. These Bank Islami, we have about 540 branches in 200 cities. We are providing Sharia compliant solution to small enterprises, medium enterprises, to consumer, to agri, and obviously the corporate and the Sukuk sector. We have a very large scope. It's a full suite of Sharia compliance business we provide. I've learned that more green Sukuks are coming. As a bank, as an Islamic bank, we have a responsibility to invest in green energy, ESG initiatives, and obviously the taxonomy framework is now strengthening in Pakistan as well. I think there is a need for more initiatives which other companies should take, and Islamic Bank, and especially Bank Islamic, is there to help you establishing your businesses, doing long-term Sukuks, and obviously we are more interested now. It's a priority sector for State Bank Pakistan is the agriculture and SME, and we'll be having a big portfolio, and we are growing on small enterprises and medium enterprises where normally bank they don't focus on. And at the last, I really want to thank all the stakeholders who have really made it, and I pray that this will be a great success and for the new issues of Sukuks in the future. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, sir. I would now like to invite Mr. Imran Inayat Bhatt from SCP.
Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to be here today at the gong ceremony marking the listing of Pakistan's first ever Agri-Infrastructure Sukuk. I would like to commend InfraZamin, Sunridge Foods, Bank Islami, PSX, and all other stakeholders for their foresight and diligence in bringing this instrument to the market. Today, events mark a significant achievement not only for the Sunridge Food, but it is also a meaningful step towards the development of Pakistan capital markets, paving the way to address the financing needs of our agriculture sector. As you all know, that agriculture is the backbone of Pakistan economy, providing livelihood for the significant portion of the population and ensuring national food security. While this sector has historically faced underinvestment, but this transaction gives a clear signal that our capital markets are now ready to take a proactive role by bringing innovative and sustainable financing solutions to support and unlock the potential of our agri sector. This Sukuk serves as a model for future transactions aimed at building sustainable agri infrastructure. This instrument is backed by credit guarantee from InfraZamin, exemplifying innovation and financial inclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, it is evident to remain competitive in today's age and to truly make progress, we must activate and support debt capital markets as scalable, transparent, and efficient platforms that attract long-term private investment. For this vision to become a reality, we must first de-risk the markets, build investor trust, and foster an ecosystem that supports innovation. Credit enhancement mechanisms and guarantee-based structures can play a pivotal role in this journey. Across emerging markets, we are already seeing proof that well-structured credit enhancement mechanisms can unlock meaningful private sector financing. You would all be pleased to know that in line with the SCCP continuous commitments toward fostering capital formation and promoting transparency in the market, we have recently approved amendments to the public offering regime with focus on facilitating companies to raise capital growth, enhance competition, leverage technology, improve transparency, and introduce inclusive price discovery mechanism. I am confident Pakistan capital market is well positioned to provide capital growth to both private and public sectors and to effectively support the country's broader economic growth. On behalf of SCCP, I congratulate all stakeholders on this remarkable achievement. Your dedication has put the groundwork for future innovations And we look forward to seeing many more instruments that will collectively contribute in the economic development of the country. In the end, I also hope and look forward to seeing public listing of such innovative instruments so that the general public, which is eagerly looking for investment avenues, can also participate actively in such initiatives. Thank you very much.
I would request Mr. Lance Dom, British Deputy High Commissioner, to please come on stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, good afternoon. It is a privilege to be here at the Pakistan Stock Exchange to mark the launch of the Sunridge Agri-Infrastructure Sukuk, a pioneering, climate-friendly and Sharia-compliant financial instrument that reflects the best of innovation, collaboration and ambition. This Sukuk is not just a financial milestone, it is a signal of confidence in Pakistan's capital markets. Capital markets are essential for any country seeking sustainable, inclusive growth. They provide the long-term financing needed to build infrastructure, to create jobs and to drive innovation. For Pakistan, as we know, a country with immense potential, but also pressing development needs, deepening capital markets is imperative. Debt capital markets in particular offer a powerful vehicle to mobilize domestic and international finance. They reduce reliance on public debt, diversify funding sources and attract institutional investors to sectors like agriculture, energy and digital infrastructure. So today's Sukuk, the first of its kind in Pakistan's agri-infrastructure space, is a model of what's possible. The UK is proud to be a long-standing partner in Pakistan's financial transformation through the Private Infrastructure Development Group, the UK-funded Karandaz. We helped establish InfraZamin as well, a pioneering credit enhancement facility. Our support goes further. We've also supported the creation of the Pakistan Microfinance Investment Company, Parwaz Financial Services and National Credit Guarantee Company. These are institutions that are expanding access to finance for SMEs, for women and for green enterprises across the country. Also, through the British International Investment, the UK's premier development finance institution, we have invested almost $200 million across over 40 businesses nationwide. These are investments, but also their commitments to Pakistan's future. We need more initiatives like this Sukuk to close Pakistan's financing gap, where players from the private sector come together, supported by development partners, to deliver real impact. And the UK remains committed to supporting Pakistan's journey towards a resilient, inclusive and sustainable financial ecosystem. Let me end by congratulating InfraZamin, Sunridge Foods, Bank Islami and the Pakistan Stock Exchange for this bold and visionary step. May this Sukuk be the first of many, and may it inspire a new era of sustainable finance in Pakistan. Thank you very much.
I will now invite our distinguished guests to the stage for the gong ceremony and the group photo. One more. We have time for the... Okay. Mr. Farooq Sabzwari, CEO PSX.
Thank you. That's my fault, because I said no twice. I needed all the other speakers to speak before I did. Thank you all. Big event, agreed. Commensurations, congratulations, Sunridge, Maheen and your team at InfraZamin, Madam Chairperson, because PSX does a lot of work around the ESG space as well. And then you're all aware that the big step you took as minister, we've been able to raise 2.65 trillion worth of sukuks onto the PSX platform. Your Excellency, the Deputy High Commissioner, welcome to the exchange. I'm told this is your first visit. Excellent. The market's been a little topsy-turvy today, which is strange, because it is up 20% year to date. It was one of the best performing markets last year as well, 85% up. So the fact that it was up 85% last year, it's up 20% this year. Really, the key message from the PSX, and of course, before I forget, so we've done a lot of work with the Pakistan Business Council, with Ehsan and his team. I think the last bit of information we sent to him was something to do with bonus shares and how many companies have issued bonus shares. So clearly, and then we had him speak on tariffs and the Trump tariff issue, which was a big sellout, a lot of people in attendance. So we look forward to continuing that journey with you at the PBC. And I'm glad you're no longer a director, because you were an informer. So it's good to know that you're not on the board of the PSX. Of course, SECP, without whose help and guidelines, we would really not be able to surpass the kind of things we're doing on ESG. I think eventually, hopefully, with as Madam, you said, my chief of staff, I was going to say chief of army staff, chief of staff, we will see an ESG index as well, because that is work that we are continuing to do. And what we're doing is learning from experience of other exchanges. So the real message to me really today, although I know this is the transformational step, and it will make a very good positive dent on agricultural finance as well, is collaboration, innovation, awareness raising. These are all buzzwords that are also very important for PSX, because for us to climb that next sort of leg up in terms of awareness or education or getting more investors, getting more people to list onto the capital market, this is a great initiative to encourage more people to come on board. Also, just a couple of things I thought I'd mention. Agriculture, because a lot of talk was around agriculture. We all noticed that as a percentage of GDP, it's what, 24, 25%. Workforce, 37, 38%. And last year was not too great a year, because it was only positive 0.5 or 0.6%. So it was sad to see yields on some of our basic crops being the lowest that they have been in decades. So there's a lot of learning, really. Again, I go back to collaboration, innovation in finance, etc. And not far, I mean, we can learn from China, who are doing a phenomenal job upgrading their entire agricultural ecosystem, using AI-driven farming, etc., to actually up the ante there. Also nice to see Pakistan finally making a dent. And I know on the corporate bond side, we really have a lot of ground to cover, but it's good to see the pickup in ESG. We did the grain bond with the Ministry of Finance. Again, collaboration continuing, innovation in finance, awareness raising. So we've done what now? 2.65 trillion worth of Sukuks are now listed on the PSX. And you can trade a Sukuk for as little as 5,000 rupees. It's unfortunate, not many people know that. And on the other side, the unlisted Sukuk is 3.5 odd trillion, and a lot of that is maturing over the next 2 years. So the PSX will be much more buoyant in terms of Sukuk presence over the next 2 years. And liquidity-wise, I need to thank the bankers in the room, the brokers in the room, asset managers in the room. Thank you for participating in this Sukuk liquidity initiative. So our volumes on the PSX are looking much, much better than they were. One little comment, because it is your first time at the exchange. We hope to see you here again. But the market still, it's got huge tailwind in terms of macroeconomic stability that's chasing it. And if you look at the news over the last couple of weeks, whether it's the current account deficit, remittances, which are up to a record level of 38 odd billion dollars, everything seems to be going in the right direction. Market at the moment is now 60 odd billion dollars is the total market cap. This is still 14 odd % versus GDP. So clearly there's still a lot of upside here. I'll stop here. Thank you very much again. I want to thank, obviously, as usual, my team for putting together the information, and obviously Mr. Hashmi, who continues to do a very good job on the Sukuk side, so making it liquid, really, which was a big challenge for the PSX. Thank you very much again, ladies and gentlemen. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
I will now invite our distinguished guests to the stage for the gong ceremony and the group photo. Ms. Maheen Rahman, please. Mr. Amir Shahzad, Mr. Javed Qureshi, Mr. Rizwan Atta, Mr. Basir Shamsi, Dr. Shamshad Akhtar, Mr. Farooq Sabzwari, Mr. Lance Dom, Mr. Noam Rosenbaum, Mr. Amir Shamim, Mr. Khusro Mumtaz, Mr. Amir Masood, and Mr. Imran Inayat Bhatt. I'll invite in sequence our distinguished guests to please strike the gong. First, I would... Can you please bring the hammer to strike the gong, please? Thank you. Okay. I would request Mr. Amir Shahzad to please strike the gong first. Now I would invite Mr. Lance Dom. That's a good one. Now I'd request Dr. Shamshad Akhtar. Ms. Maheen. Now I'd request Dr. Shamshad Akhtar. And lastly, I would request Mr. Rizwan Atta. Thank you. I would now request all the guests to please stay on stage for the group photo.